How's it going, everyone? I am Dylan. This is my cousin Carlo. This is All You Can Board. And today we are doing our top 10, 5 each comfort games. Now, comfort games, obviously, some people might be wondering what that means. Comfort games in this case is, we kind of almost thought about doing like, do we call it relaxing games? Do we call it comfort games? What's the distinction? And I think for us, it was, these aren't games that necessarily are going to be like, oh, it's just relaxing games. Comfort games are in the same way I think you best described it best. Like some of your comfort video games and some of my comfort video games are games that some might be like, that's super stressful, that's super complex, but it's a combination of memories, of nostalgia, of like familiarity, of just like the joy it brings you when you're playing, that all those things can make them comfort games. So these games specifically, they might be complex, they may be cutthroat, but what makes them comforting is unique to us. So this is not a list. If you're coming in to watch being like, I want to buy some comfort games, I'm going to watch this video for suggestions, this might not work in that regard, because these are very much our comfort games that uniquely bring us comfort and may not bring someone else comfort, right?
Definitely. I would say more than any other list video we've done where we're ranking games, this is probably going to be the most like personalized one, where like I wouldn't be surprised if we get tons of comments from people being like, I don't understand how these are comfort games, like these games are the last thing I want to play, and I'm like, these are just very personal reasons. So
Yeah, I think it's, this is going to be an interesting one to sort of throw it back to all of you and say, and it's kind of start the discussion, like what makes a game comforting to you, and let us know your comfort games, because I feel like everyone's is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be like, oh, this is universally the most comforting game to everyone, because for one person it may not be, whereas someone else has this memory tied to it that makes it very comforting.
Right,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, so it could be a very interesting topic. Ties into everything we're doing this month with mental health and leading up towards our event, because comfort games are something that I, at least with board games and video games and things like that I've leaned on when I've either been down or my mental health's been suffering, whatever the case may be. These are the type of experiences and sessions that can really make you feel just content and safe and happy, and for a variety of reasons. We'll get into all those reasons. I'm going to throw it to Carlo to start with his number 5.
All right. The first thing I want to say real quick is that a lot of these games, and I don't know if you feel the same way.
You already have to justify your number 5 pick. You're just like,
no. It's just that I'll say right now, some of these games, it's going to are games that I know I'm good at, and I don't want to come across too much as like bragging about a bunch of games that I'm good at or that sort of thing. So like, I don't know.
I see what you're up to here.
Whatever. Maybe I'll just whatever. Let's just get into the first pick. This is a game that we've never spoken about on our channel, and I don't know what other video would ever come up in again. And it's been a long time since I played. Boggle.
Wow. Okay.
So it's almost gonna fall over here. So the reason for Boggle is so my kind of like background, the university and stuff, has to do with like writing and communications and stuff, and like I've always been like good with spelling and words and that kind of stuff, and I don't have a lot of word games, and especially ones that like get played often, and Boggle isn't like, I haven't played this now in probably a few years, but there's something about like, for anyone who doesn't know, you shuffle up these or shake this thing, and it scrambles all these letters, and then you're trying to connect the letters and spell as many words, and you're just writing, and there's a little sandglass timer, right?
Yep.
Or hourglass, and it's one of those games that in some ways I feel bad, because the people I've played it most with is usually with Anna, and like I've played with her sisters and stuff like that. And I remember the first time I was about to play with them, they were like, "Oh, we love Boggle. Boggle's so good," and all this stuff. And like, I hate to use the words, but like I kind of like wiped the floor with them. And I remember they were like, "What the heck?" They're like, "Why are you so good at this game?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't think I was that good at it." And it's a game that like anytime if I had like low self-esteem, or I wasn't feeling confident about something, like this is the most like I'm like, oh yeah, that felt good. Like I just got such a good score at Boggle. You get the words down on the table, and it's like, the common letters, I'm like, set, net, sent, bent, best, whatever. And like, I can't even write as fast as the words are popping into my head. And like, when at the end of the round, someone's like, oh, I got 12 points, I got 14. I'm like, I got like 38 points or whatever. People are like, oh my God, what's wrong? Like, and I, now like my wife doesn't even really want to play it with me anymore. So I kind of feel bad. It was a very conflicting pick, but I'm trying to give different reasons for all these games on my list. And this is almost like, it's the only game I play where I get to like take advantage of like
Other
yeah,
people.
spelling. No, of like my spelling skills and like words, like that kind of stuff. So like it just hits a sweet spot that no other game in my collection ever does. So
Yeah.
I don't play it often. Whenever I do, it's such a feel good game for me. So
Nice. Yeah, it's a good pick.
comforting for a weird reason. But
Yeah, I'm realizing now, like, we're obviously going to have, like, very different criteria, because, like, I have criteria for mine specifically, and you're just obviously picking games that you just destroy people at. That's what's comforting
No,
to
it's
you. I see, okay.
there's at
I
least
get
2
it.
games on the list that I'm not very good at. But this is one that I had to brag about.
I haven't played a lot of Boggle, but I've obviously played it. I don't know if we've played together or not. I can't remember if we
I don't think we have.
Yeah, now it never will.
Fair enough. Well, you gotta let me ruin you at least once in this.
Okay, that's an awesome pick.
Thanks.
Okay, so my number 5, I don't own and you don't own, so I can bring it onto the table. I have played this game mostly online, but if I could get my hands on a copy or find one, I'm sure I will at some point, I would love to play the physical version, because there's a lot of settings, like the cabin specifically, I think of, depending on who I'm going with, I think this would be a really good one to have the physical copy of. And it brings me a lot of comfort for a lot of different reasons, and that is Can't Stop. And so Can't Stop is on this list mostly because with how simple it is, I hate using the word mindless sometimes, because I feel like it could be taken the wrong way, and I don't mean mindless in a negative way. I just mean that sometimes the games that can bring you comfort are the ones that you don't expect a lot of you,
Right.
and you can just sort of say, this game is very luck based and pushing your luck, and I'm going to play this time, and I'm not going to be very risky, or I'm going to play this time and be very risky. And every time I've had fun, no matter what strategy I adopt and no matter what my opponents are doing. But not only am I having fun, it's just like, it's very relaxing, but it's also just like this comforting feeling of almost the same thing you can get with, like, say it's a long day and you're just like, I just need to scroll through my phone and like look at Reddit right now. I feel like that could be the same thing with just like playing a couple rounds of Can't Stop, and because it's so quick, you can play multiple rounds of it as well.
Yeah.
So even though I've never played the physical version of this, it's always been on Board Game Arena. I find that if I had the physical version, it would be one of those games where if I had certain friends over, or going to like a family member's house, going to the cabin, and a rainy morning, whatever, it's an easy game to just say like, let's just throw down a couple rounds of Can't Stop, and like it doesn't matter who wins. You can halfway through be like, oh wait, actually, let's just go for a walk. I want to do this, and like you don't even have to finish the game. You don't even feel bad about it. Like
it's the first person to get 3 things. But even if you get 0 and you did terribly, you still have fun, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly. And it's just it's a comforting game, and this is the most, I guess, out of anything on the list, this is probably the closest to being could be like the potential crossover if we had done like relaxing games or whatever, because I can consider it relaxing in many ways, despite the fact that like you're pushing your luck and trying to figure out how much you're going to risk. But yeah, so it's comforting to me for a lot of reasons, and I guess specifically because I'm playing it online and with my phone, it's just been a very easy game to just like, I need to decompress, I need to not think about anything, I need to like disassociate, I can just play some Can't Stop, and it kind of fills that void for me. So.
Okay, nice. Honestly, I'm very surprised that this made your list, but all good reasons.
Yeah, awesome.
Cool.
All right, you're up.
So my number 4 is a game that I also don't own, and it's also a game that I've played a whole lot on BGA, only discovered it about 2 years ago, and it's a game by Sid Saxon from 1980 something, or I think, and it is called Can't Stop.
I was like, wait a second.
I was trying so hard not to spoil it there. I did not expect that to be on your
really?
list. I mean, yeah, it makes total sense, but for some reason, because it's one that I only thought of at kind of the last second.
Yeah.
So my reason is a little bit different. I mean, I agree with everything you said, but the one thing that stands out to me about it, that for the comfort game reason, it goes back to a discussion I was having in the Table Knots Discord with a couple of people recently, that I'm not crazy about dice games. So I don't mind, I like a lot of games where you use dice for other things, dice manipulation, dice placement, drafting, if there's a little bit of dice to determine combat or whatever, but games where you start your turn by rolling dice and you just like have options based on the dice you roll, like Settlers of Catan, I kind of got tired of years ago. I tried Space Base recently on Board Game Arena, and I wasn't a big fan of that. Those games to me take too long for how long, like just for how much you're rolling the dice. I don't want to play a dice-based game for that long. But Can't Stop, and so I've wondered recently, I looked through my collection, and I was like, man, I barely have any games in my collection that even have dice. And I started wondering, do I just not like dice games? And Can't Stop is my favorite dice-based game, I realized, and the comfort that it brought me was realizing that, no, I can like dice, and it's not like, I'm not crazy. People are like, oh, do you not like having fun because you don't like rolling dice and stuff? And it's like, no, but in Can't Stop, the dice that is the game, is the dice rolling.
Right.
And every single decision that you make is you roll dice, you make a quick choice. You roll dice, you make a quick choice. And it's the same thing over and over, but it's that push your luck and slight calculation of odds and the risking your luck and stuff. And to me, because it takes, especially on board game, and you can play a game in like 10 minutes, it's just like, it feels like such a comforting use of just like rolling some dice and doing something that feels satisfying. So all the reasons you mentioned, as well as that, I feel like fully earns its spot at number 4 on my list.
One thing I want to quickly add, because I kind of forgot to mention on mine too, is that another reason I may not eventually buy Can't Stop or might not enter my collection, and it's a reason I got this other game, is Sequoia. Sequoia was a game I actually almost thought, like, even though I've only played it once, I was like, do I even consider putting it here? Because I know it's going to end up being a comfort game for me because of the exact same reasons that Can't Stop is. I just haven't played it enough.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's that, you know, the quick plays with, you know, just like you said, rolling dice in the entire game is about that, but Sequoia adds that, like, you know, area control thing more, like, it still has the push your luck, but it's more like the area control than it is the push your luck aspect of it.
You're not just fighting the odds, it's a little bit with watching what the other players
I feel like
doing.
ask me in 2 years to do this list again, and there's a good chance that Sequoia overtakes Can't Stop for the exact same reasons. It's just the game I already have the physical copy of.
Okay.
But, I mean, who knows? I'm just saying, it could be.
I just love the purity of Can't Stop. And here's the thing. I think it works so well on BGA because if you're playing in real life, and is it 3 dice or 4 dice that you roll?
4.
And so to like be switching up the combinations on the table takes a bit more time to like match up the dice and do the calculations, whereas on Board Game Arena it just gives you the number right away.
Yeah, true.
So anyways, that's
pick.
Can't Stop.
All right, my number 4 is probably going to surprise people as a comfort game, but I think the reasons should completely explain this one. And that is... And Carlo's going to be especially surprised with this one, and that is the One Night Ultimate Werewolf.
What?
Yeah, so One Night Ultimate Werewolf is a comfort game for me, specifically because I have played One Night Ultimate Werewolf lots of times. Not any time recently, mostly because of the pandemic, but from when I got it, and even other people's copies before I got mine, I played this tons with a whole bunch of different groups. And why it's a comforting game to me is because you can only play it with people you know and like have some sort of rapport. And I shouldn't say only, but like to have it be a good a good experience. And so if you're getting this game to the table, you're guaranteed around a bunch of your probably your closest friends or a lot of people you feel close with. You're with a decent sized group, because I don't know about other people, but I've never suggested a 3-player One Night Ultimate Werewolf, for instance, right?
Yeah, I played it once with 3, but it's not ideal.
Yeah, like I'm usually only playing with minimum 5, and usually it's more than that.
Yeah.
So if I'm playing this, I'm in a setting where I'm around my closest friends, playing a game where we're like jokingly sassing each other and laughing like crazy. So in terms of me feeling comfortable, it's a game that maybe if I wasn't that specific group, it would be a game that make me uncomfortable.
Right.
But because when I played it's that specific scenario, I'm almost as comfortable as I'll ever be because of the people I'm around, and it's guaranteed fun, it's guaranteed laughs, and like I say, to play this, you're planning a night where you're around, you know, your closest loved ones and friends. And to me,
For sure.
that made the most sense. Is like when I was thinking of all the different games that bring me comfort, I thought of every single time I played One Night Ultimate Werewolf, and I've been around 7 of my closest friends. We're all sassing each other, or I've been around like Braden's hosting a hidden roll night, and even if it wasn't One Night Ultimate Werewolf, it was a game very similar to it, like The Resistance or whatever. Like those hidden roll games have that element of like if you're with the right people, you will likely feel comfortable, and if you're not going to feel comfortable, it's probably not the right time to play One Night Ultimate Werewolf anyways, right?
True.
So that's why it's as much stress as could be involved with it, and as much as like calling people liars and all this kind of stuff could be involved with it, for me personally, it's always going to be a comforting experience, and the memories associated with it are going to bring me lots of comfort and joy.
Right, that totally makes sense, yeah. And does any part of it put this ahead of other social deduction games for you as well because of the lower stakes of it being a short round? So like you're not like, oh, I got to keep up this lie for extra long or whatever. It's just like,
well, don't you remember we were probably teenagers, or we were definitely really young when we played the Survivor board game. And
I don't actually.
It was like I can't remember if it was your family as well, or if it was definitely my mom and stepdad and stuff were there. But we got I think my aunts and uncle were there too. And all of us were in the game. But that game, if you got eliminated at the tribal council, you were literally out. And so like at the start when everyone's in it, it was just like, oh man, we're playing like this is Survivor. Who are we gonna vote out and everything? And all of a sudden after like 4 people are gone, it's like, yeah, but now there's just 4 people like doing like in the other room. And now you have like
I was gonna ask if they sat and watched from and like screw this, I'm gonna go watch TV.
So like it definitely ends up being not ideal. The fact that this one doesn't have that elimination, even Mafia has elimination that makes people feel unincluded. So you're right, that is one of the reasons, and the reason it's this specifically over any other hidden role game is nostalgia. This is the one I played the most.
Right.
So.
Nice. Yeah, great pick.
Number
Great pick.
4.
Another one, man, you're surprising me with some of these. But
yeah.
They totally make sense. Not ragging on them. All right. My number 3. Okay, so those first 2 were games that when we did our top 50 back in December did not crack my top 50. But these next 3 are all in my top 50. And for anyone who knows, they all do rank pretty high. But I'm going to try and explain some reasons why that don't align with what I've talked about in previous videos. So this is Race for the Galaxy, my number 3 comfort game. Probably, as of now, still probably my number 2 game of all time. And there's a couple things that make this a comforting game for me. One, it wasn't like one of the very, very first games I got in the hobby, but it was early enough, and it was one of the first games that I got that I wasn't sure at the time if it was going to stay in my collection. I wasn't very good at it. It was a game that I found tough to explain and get other people into, and I just kept doubting or questioning, like, am I ever going to like really like love this game? And over time, it's really, really grown on me. And since I became a dad like 8.5 months ago, my number of plays on this has skyrocketed. Like I've gotten more plays in on this game in the last like 9 months or so than I did in the first however many years that I owned it. And part of that is that I've kind of like unlocked a new like, I guess like level of strategy or skill or like kind of just
here we go, you're bragging about your skills again. I knew it.
No. I was just gonna say I still lose so much. Like I still lose way more than I win at this game. Like when I play with like Kevin, I have like probably like a 10% win rate against Kevin at this game. Like I'm terrible at it against him. And then like I'll feel like, oh yeah, I just figured out some stuff. I'm gonna go online and play against some good players now. And they just wipe the floor with me. Kevin's telling me the same thing too. He goes and plays online like, oh, Europeans at late night, they just destroy you at this game. And it's like I keep thinking I'm getting better and I'm learning the deck, and there's like 108 cards in this deck, and I'm like, there used to be cards I would get and I didn't know what to do with, and now suddenly I'm like, oh, it's because if you can get that other card with it or that other set of cards or at this point in the game, so it feels so rewarding to get better at.
Right.
And the other part about it is the fact that I can play this game anywhere. Like, even though I haven't played the physical copy now in a while, the app, just for like Android or whatever, is amazing. You can play games in sometimes like 3 minutes, 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
You can play it on Board Game Arena as well. For a while there, I was waking up an hour or so in the morning before work, working from home, make my coffee, and I'd go to the computer and I'd sit and I'd play as many games of Race for the Galaxy on BGA as I could sneak in before the workday. And it was like the perfect, like, I was like, oh, now I'm ready to, I got in some more satisfying games right at the beginning of the day. So it feels like it's been kind of like right alongside me for the last like 9 months as I've transitioned into being a dad. And now that it's one of my favorites of all time, like this is a game I'll never get tired of playing, and it's just so comforting to play now.
Yeah,
it wasn't for a long time.
I don't have a lot I can comment on because I haven't played a ton of Race for the Galaxy, and they've always been spaced apart. But I'm going to just throw out a really random question that I've wanted to ask you before, and I'm not going to find a better spot to put it. Take out all the nostalgia with Race for the Galaxy, like because you've played it like over the years or whatever. Imagine that right now, like let's pretend you're not even running a YouTube channel, whatever. Imagine right now you got Race for the Galaxy gifted to you at the exact same time that you got Res Arcana gifted to you, and you played each one 20 times, alternating. Okay, so you played 20 plays of each one. Do you think you would like Race for the Galaxy more, or do you think you like Res Arcana more? Like, how much do you think is that this is so high on your list because of nostalgia, or do you actually think it's just like superior game all around?
I definitely think it's a superior game all around.
Yeah.
The nostalgia part's hard to answer because are you saying that I would have to imagine I've never played it before?
I was basically saying,
because
I was basically saying the scenario was you haven't played either one and you just played 20
Well,
games.
because it like the thing is I've played only a few Tom Lehman games, these two and Roll for the Galaxy, and neither of the 3 games I liked all that much in the first couple plays.
Yeah.
Like they've all kind of grown on me, and it feels like it's taken a very steep learning curve and getting better at it. So again, like even if we had done our top 50 games of all time like a year and a half or 2 years ago, this might have been in my top 10, but it wouldn't have been that high. But it's just been that last, and again, most of my plays, like until last year, I'd only played it maybe 40, 50 times. And now with the app and BGA, I'm probably over 500 plays, and suddenly now it has just shot up. So I do think it's a better game, but again, I've only played Res Arcana maybe like 15, 20 times.
Right.
So
hard
to compare.
Curious. Good pick though.
Thank you.
All right, my number 3. Well, I think this is where we get into the ones that are less surprising now compared to the first 2, maybe.
Right.
Oh boy, my number 3 is Castles of Burgundy.
Okay, yeah, this one I expected to go somewhere.
So this one is comforting to me for a few different reasons. I've played a lot of Castles. This is like my race for the galaxy now. I played so much Castles of Burgundy in the last few months, compared to, and mostly online or all online. But before that, I had played a ton of this game in the physical version. Like I played a lot of Castles of Burgundy, but I feel like it's only been recently that I've actually cared about like really trying out different strategies and comparing those strategies and wondering knowing which player board I get, how I should start my turn, where I should put my castle, like how I should approach it depending which other player boards other players have got. I've never really looked at it that way. So all that might not seem comforting, but when you take a game that's already one that has the nostalgia tied to it for me and already is a game I absolutely adore, and is this sort of it is a sort of a relaxing experience. You roll two dice, and there's so many things you can find a way to do with those dice, but you never really feel like you've done something wrong. Like you never, at least for me, I never take a turn of Castles of Burgundy and think like, oh, like I really did the misplay, or oh, that turn sucked. Like you're limited by what the dice are, and you can always find a good thing to do with those dice on that turn, even if it's not the best thing that you possibly could have executed. And to me, knowing that I can play a game that way, have a successful final score, and have a good time with it, irregardless of like how well I've played, has always been comforting. And now couple that with the fact that I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable and confident in the moves I'm making and the decisions I'm making, the strategies I'm adopting. It just is it's now my game that I can always have a game going on BGA, whether it be like the asynchronous. Am I saying that right now? Asynchronous, or I've even just like played random live games with like whoever I get matched up with at the same time. And because it can be at any player count, and be a really good experience at any player count, in my opinion, it's one that like I can find multiple situations to bring to the table with different people, and that could be like 3 of my really close friends, and it's comforting because I'm around those people, or it can be one-on-one with someone that I just want to have a night in with, kind of thing. So this one is the most, out of every game on this list, this is the one that's tied to nostalgia the most for me. And I use that loosely and with quotations because it's not that I've been playing this for, like 8 years or anything like that, but out of them all, this is the most like that I have memories, the most out of all 5 that I have a bunch of memories tied to, now coupled with me sort of rediscovering it in multiple ways, that it gives me the warm and fuzzy feelings, like booting up a game of Castle of Burgundy or setting it up on the table. I'm just sort of like, this is going to be a good night, this is going to be a good session, or whatever. So
I feel like you're holding back a bit on bragging about this one, partially because you're giving me a hard time about bragging, but also because you did it off camera last time we played games together. You're like, man, I got like 200 points the other day, so come on, tell the people, tell them how good you are.
Well, to be fair, I like regularly get over 200 points now. But
there it is.
The one game I had, it was the closest I've ever come to filling my entire board. I was like 1 tile off from having filled every single space, or 2 tiles off, or something like that. And I had a really high score. It was like 280 or 275 or something. I haven't even come close to that recently. So a lot of that was probably luck, but it's also me just like becoming a better player because I'm playing it so much, and that in and of itself gives you more comfort because you feel like. The more you like, I'm sure now when you sit down to play a game of Agricola or Race for the Galaxy, even if you're like in a very competitive mood, you're not going in being like, oh, like I hope I'm able to like have a good game. Like you're gonna have a good game. It's just like you may not win, but you're gonna have like an experience that you feel confident in.
Yeah, you're gonna feel pretty satisfied in your choices at least. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's comforting in that way too.
Cool. I haven't played this anywhere near as much as you, and I know you like it a lot more than me, but it's a little bit nostalgic to me as well for a different reason, and it transports me back to the day and age of board games where mechanisms and fun were more important than the look of the game, and playing a hideous beige game like this with an unappealing box cover was just like the best games around. Like I love that it just transports me back to that era of those Euro games with these kind of covers and artwork and stuff. But
this is the version I need to own. Even with all these new versions of Castle of Burgundy coming up and going on crowdfunding, I'm just gonna have to stick to this.
You don't want a 2-foot high plastic castle that's gonna make you pay however much for it.
A huge like miniature castle that's going to cost me like $200 to have shipped here, or ugly piece of junk version. Like I think I'll go with ugly piece of junk version because it's tied to nostalgia for me.
Love it.
I shouldn't have said piece of junk version. I meant
no.
The artwork's not bad. It's just boring.
Yeah,
that's the best.
It's just a lot of shades of green, gray, and brown.
Yes.
I mean, there's the odd blue, but
yeah.
Okay, on to my number 2 comfort game. And this one, for anyone who's seen our most stressful games collaboration video that we did with Foster the Meeple, you're probably going to be like, I thought that was a super stressful game. So I'll explain why it's comforting as well. Currently my number 3 game of all time overall. This is Modern Art. So there's a couple reasons why this is comforting to me despite the stress. I've mentioned in previous videos that I often find myself sweating by the end of the first or second round of this game and just like you can feel my heart rate increasing and all this stuff. But part of it is that so during the I think the first off, this game, I was 5 years old when this game was released and I didn't even know it existed until a few years ago, and I only bought it 2 years ago, right before the pandemic started. And there was a point here, obviously in Manitoba, where I think we had like 10 active COVID cases in the summer of 2020. Went out to a cabin with some friends, played it for the first time, and it was the only game that weekend that we played twice. We played it, we were all like, oh my god, this game's amazing. We played it again. And ever since then, when we've had these little pockets where we've been able to get together with people again, and we've been like, and I've just been kind of like starved for that high interaction, very social, fun game that's going to bring people together and make us all laugh. This is always, always, always my number 1 pick. So I'll feel like, oh, I know, I haven't seen my friends in a while. I really want to have a good game night. And just, if we just played Modern Art one time, I just like, it's like a healing salve. I'm like, that is exactly what I needed. Like, I laughed so hard. It like tickled all the right parts of my brain. There's things that I don't really get to put to use, like whether it's a skill or something that I have that in other games that does come into play here. Like, we don't play a lot of games where memory is a big factor, and I wouldn't say I like games where memory is like the primary thing, and you don't have to memorize, and sometimes it's not I'm not making a conscious decision to be like, well, that person sold that painting for that much, and so they have this money. Like, there's no way you can keep track of that, but it's kind of like a memory feeling where it's like, I kind of remember as the game goes on, making out like, Dylann kind of cleaned up there on that auction, and then someone else, right. And throughout the game, I'm kind of drawing on like, I feel like Dylan's probably ahead, and this person's kind of behind, that sort of thing. And the other thing is, I have, again, you're gonna give me a hard time, but like I'm bad at a lot of things, bad at a lot of other different points of math and whatever. Okay, one day I'll talk about all the other character flaws and whatever, but mental math is one of my strong suits. Okay, so
I'll talk about all my character flaws.
Serious, to offset the bragging, but mental math is something I'm good at, and just like setting in and analyzing something and assessing a value to it when it might not be obvious, I think. Okay, so in auction, you're giving me a hard time about it.
I just like the way you said talk about my character flaws after. I'm just like, imagine people are gonna log onto YouTube one day and it's gonna be like, hey everyone, now we're talking about my top 10 character flaws. Listen, I'm a little bit emotionally unavailable, and sometimes like not board game.
Oh man, that's great.
Okay, sorry.
Fun video. No, it's good. It's good. All good stuff. There's just something about it that like I even, and here's the thing, I've probably played it 10, 12 times now, and I've only
I didn't
won.
realize you played it that much. Wow.
Yeah, and I've only maybe not 12, but probably around 10.
Yeah.
And I think I've only won maybe 2 or 3 times. So like, again, try not bragging, because I'm not like particularly good at the game, but I feel like there's things that I'm good at that make me feel good while I'm playing, even when I lose.
Well, I'll brag because I've only played this twice and I won both times.
Oh, so. Damn. Okay. See?
I'm 100% on Modern Art.
Wow. How come it's not on your list? Or maybe it is.
I can guarantee you here today, Modern Art will be on my top 50 of all time this year.
Fair enough.
But you won't know where. But
I was, kind of embarrassed for you that it wasn't on it last time.
I only played it once.
I know, but you should understand the brilliance of this game after the first play.
One play, yeah.
But yeah, there's just something so satisfying about the auctions, and I just like, even when I sell a painting and I realize I didn't get as much as I could have got for it, I'm sitting there going, oh, that sucks. But I'm like, the joy around the table brings me so much comfort. Everyone I've shown this game to has requested to play it multiple times since I have. Yeah. Everyone's always like, oh, I'm so down for Modern Art. Bring Modern Art. So
yeah.
Number 2, I almost consider it for the number 1. I just couldn't put it ahead of the game we'll talk about afterwards.
Yeah. All right, my number 2 is I'm gonna slightly cheat here by saying that the version I pull up here, you can almost replace with any version, even the ones I haven't played, I'm sure will end up being comfort games to me.
So it's replaceable. It's not that comforting.
No.
It's so comforting that if someone
Listen
took
here.
it from you, you could just find an easy replacement.
The game is Azul, and the reason I said you can take any version, even though I've only played this one in the Cintra version, is that what makes Azul the number 2 spot for me, and what makes it comforting, is present in every game of Azul, and that's that more than anything. This pick is tied to the thematics of it. I also happen to adore both versions of Azul that I played, but specifically the original. But it being set up on the table, the color of the tiles, the idea of how they look when you place them, and just like the simplistic nature of just draft some tiles, and like there's all this cutthroat elements, and you can like make someone take a bunch of tiles from the floor and stuff. But at its core, it just feels for some reason very like, even when it's cutthroat, something about the game just feels very like wholesome and relaxing, and just like the type of game that when you're sitting down to play it, you're just in a good headspace for some reason.
Fair enough.
Or it puts you into a good headspace. So despite the fact that it can be, online especially, I've found that people can be very cutthroat with Azul. It's a game that for me, anytime I introduce it to so many people for the first time, this is like one of my go-to games to introduce to people, and it's in part because I enjoy playing it so much that it acts as a gateway game and a game I enjoy. But it's just every single experience of Azul, I'm just like so happy to be playing Azul.
Yeah, fair enough.
And not every game, I'm always happy to be playing board games, but this one more than anything, it's just like, it instills those like warm, fuzzy feelings of like, oh yeah, we're sitting down for an Azul night or whatever.
That's fair.
And the reason I say it could be any version, despite having not played 2 of them, is that I felt the same way playing the Cintra version, and even though we haven't played Queen's Garden yet, and I haven't played Summer Pavilion, they all sort of retain, and I know like the full rules of both those games, they both retain that same like essence that is the exact reason I'm picking Azul.
Yeah,
that I
it's
know.
It's not a tacked on like selling feature or whatever. It's like it does fit into the series. It's not just we put the Azul name on some unrelated game.
For sure. So even though I might have preferred, or I would have preferred versions of Azul, and one I like the least. Put any one of them on the table, and I'm going to feel comfort in the fact that we're playing Azul, like a version of Azul. And so this more than almost any other game is the one that thematically gives me that feeling that I just come back to Azul so many times, either BGA in the physical version. Like I've played Azul this might be one of my most played games in my collection, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough.
And it's because it's so comforting.
Nice. Honestly, and I feel, we talked about this the other day, I think that I feel like I kind of unfairly snubbed Azul a little bit when we did our top 50, because
Right.
I think I had it at like number 47 or something. And since then I've gone back and played it again, and been like, you know what, I maybe was a little harsh on it. It's such a good game.
Yeah.
I have to ask you though a couple things.
Yeah.
First off, does the smashing tiles part, is that part of what made it not reach the number 1 spot? Does that hurt the comfort factor at all?
No,
Whether
not
it's you smashing them or seeing someone else go, are you kidding me? I have to smash like 6 tiles and get like negative 12 points or whatever.
I feel like that even adds to the comfort level, because it's something it's something you come to expect from Azul. Is like someone is going to get screwed playing a round of Azul somewhere by taking 5 tiles or whatever. But you know what's super comforting is when you look at a situation unfolded on the floor, and you look and you're like, holy crap, like someone's getting absolutely here. Like someone is getting so screwed, and then
so it's the pain and suffering of yourself.
But then it starts going through, and all of a sudden everyone no one gets any extra tiles. It all just somehow works, and you're like, oh, actually, you needed those 5 blues. Like
something really satisfying.
There's this extra satisfying thing where somehow it's not always super cutthroat. Sometimes it's just I would like to do this to make your situation worse, but at the same time, I need these 5 blues, so I take them, and it's like, well, great, because I want this 1 yellow, and so that happens a lot more than and maybe it's just the way I'm playing Azul with the people I'm playing with, and we're not quite as competitive, but it never detracts from the experience for me that there's this aspect of someone just being like, oh my god, I just have 5 tiles that I'm having to put on my floor now or whatever.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah, so,
good.
Yeah, that's Azul.
All right. Oh, wait. One more thing.
One more thing.
No,
Okay.
sorry. 2 more things.
2 more things. Wow, here we
First
go.
off, which color Azul tile looks the most delicious to you? And the follow-up to that is, what do you think it would taste like?
Right.
If it actually had flavor, which one's the most delicious looking tile?
It's the all red one, but only because I think it's a red starburst.
Okay.
So I imagine that's what it tastes like.
I thought you were going to say the yellow with the red. Those ones look pretty good.
But the yellow with the red doesn't look like anything to me. So to me, it's just it looks like tasty glass. Then I guess
it would have to be mango, clearly.
Right. Okay. Well, hang on. If someone said, Oh no, like the yellow with the red tile is mango flavored. Like then I might pick that one, but I'd have to have some guarantees that it's mango flavored first. Otherwise, I know that the red one's red starburst, and to me that's all good. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, no more questions, but I have to give you a hard time that we spent however many minutes talking about that game, and you never once mentioned the ties to the fact that the game is in Portugal, in Évora, and that we're Portuguese, and there's is there any part of that? No, sorry, I wouldn't say. No more questions.
Sure,
You should be ashamed that you didn't celebrate our Portuguese heritage.
The heritage of it makes it very comforting to me.
Smashing tiles in Portugal. All right.
Number one.
My number one most comforting game of all time is Carcassonne. I think when we recently did our top 50 of all time, I had this at number 4. This was basically my gateway game. I'm going to try and not get too carried away with this because there's so many comforting things about this game. Okay, first off, I played Carcassonne in Carcassonne on one of the greatest trips I ever took in my life in 2016 when I went with a couple of my absolute best friends to Europe. We watched the Euro 2016 soccer tournament and stuff like that. So playing this in the walls of Carcassonne with someone I had played so much Carcassonne with was very memorable. My brother introduced me to this game when I was, I think, 18 or 19, and that's what got me into the hobby. And before I even tried any other modern games, I probably played this like 50 to 100 times before I even then tried like Catan or Pandemic or Ticket to Ride or whatever was next for me, okay?
Yeah. And that was you played it on Xbox, didn't you?
Yeah, Xbox Live, and then I just played it on Xbox Live. I remember my brother went out of town, I house sat for him, I played it over and over and over on Xbox, invited friends over, taught it to them, and then eventually I was like, is there an actual physical copy of this game? I didn't even know it was a physical, and then I went and bought it, and obviously you can see how worn down my copy is. It's seen so much play. And just to be clear, most of my plays are with 2 players. I still like it with more than 2, but every player you add beyond 2, I like it a little bit less. But there's also something very satisfying about... Just say it right now. Just give me a hard time about bragging before I get into it.
Oh, there's something satisfying just being able to kick everyone's ass.
No. It's not even that at all. Okay. It's you know that one of my strong suits is I have a good memory.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay, I see
Weird, I remember people's phone numbers from when I was like 7 years old that I haven't called in however many years, and I used to always, people used to always be like, "Oh, what's this person's phone? What's this person's address?" Like I'm just kind of known as like the memory guy.
Yeah.
And so this game has 72 tiles, and there's a distribution sheet in there that tells you how many of each tile there are. Okay, I didn't play this game for like probably minimum 3-4 years, maybe 5 years until recently. I went on to Board Game Arena. I didn't even have to think about it. I still remembered exactly how many of every tile there were. It felt weird. Like I was like, oh, am I going to be rusty at Carcassonne? It was such a comforting, reassuring, like it felt so, not that I was playing on autopilot because that's going to sound like I'm downplaying the decision space. Like it's kind of maybe the balance of that is like, it felt so familiar even though I hadn't played it in so long and yet still had the decision making and the tough kind of like trade-offs that a lot of my favorite games have.
Right.
And yeah, I haven't played like a ton of other board games with like my brother, and there's other people I know who like this was the game we played 2 players, and some people it's the only game I've played with them. So there's a lot of really like nostalgic and sentimental ties to this game. And even now going back to play it on Board Game Arena, like even when I lose to a player with a lower ranking that I thought like, oh man, some underdog beat me, there's something comforting knowing that that's a possibility, because then I'm not going to feel like, well, I shouldn't play this with less experienced gamers because I have an unfair advantage. Like, no, anyone can still win. There's enough luck in this game that even if I played against a brand new player, if we were to sit down, I taught them the game and we played 50 times, they'd probably win at least 2, 3, 4 of those minimum. Right. And there's just, I think it's a pretty perfect game all around, and I'll never stop playing this game.
Nice. Yeah, I think I've played Carcassonne like under 5 times, and the problem with Carcassonne is the same problem I have with like Agricola, which is just the person I end up playing either of those games with the most is you, but you play them both so much that like I have like no chance anytime I play. And I shouldn't say no chance, but like but it's very difficult for me to be like if I'm going in wanting to be competitive, which isn't always usually what I do. It's not going to work out in my favor. You know what I mean?
I would give you the sheet with the tile distribution at least, that you could right. hold that, and I would just go off memory, and maybe that would...
Yeah, or we'll play with some expansions you've never played with, even the playing.
Yeah, honestly, expansions would be good. Even just throw in the river expansion, and my whole concept and experience just goes completely out the window, because it's base game or nothing. Not nothing, but like...
I think the first time you ever like introduced this to me to play 2 players, we played with the river.
Where was it online?
I don't know.
Because the river's not in this box. I don't even own the river expansion.
I could have because I remember the first time I played Carcassonne, I played with the river.
It might have been it across the board, or it might have been online. Because even if it came in the box, I always say I prefer it without the river. But
yeah. Interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, that's I knew this was going to be on your list. I just didn't know if it was going to be number one. But
fair enough.
Not surprised.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. My number one is not tied to nostalgia at all. This is a newer game, but I knew it was going to be on the top 5, and honestly, the reasons why this is a comforting game to me are too compelling and too strong that I kind of just had to slot it at number 1. And this is one that I think will change over time. Okay. It's not here for me to grab, so I'm not even going to grab it, but it is on camera, and that is Marvel Champions.
Oh, of course. And I was looking back at it, I'm like, is it Badlands? No, never mind. Sorry.
So the reason it's Marvel Champions is I played a ton of this game solo, and all the times I'm playing it solo, it is such a sort of relaxing experience. I've always been playing on, I play this so many times on Friday nights and Saturday mornings because I get new content on Fridays that I need to, review the hero or whatever the case may be for Sunday. And so I have so many memories that are just with me and Desmond that is essentially me brewing a pot of coffee, sitting down, setting up Marvel Champions and exploring all these new cards, knowing that not only is it that comforting in and of itself, having this nice relaxing morning, but 2, I probably have a very unique reason why this is comforting to me that not many others would have, and I'm not mean that as a brag. And that's the fact that you just want me to brag, offset a little bit. And that's that because our Marvel Champions content on our channel was one of the things that kind of it was some of the first videos that really started to explode and got us a bunch of fans that were really rabid for the content and started having conversations with, and now conversing in the Discord and all that kind of stuff. Every time I sit down to make Marvel Champions content, not only am I having a good time, it brings me so much comfort and joy to know that I'm doing something that other people are sitting in different parts of the world going, oh, this Sunday, or this weekend, I think Dylan's going to be posting his Marvel Champions review, or I wonder when that video is going up. And you would think that, and sometimes it is a pressure, for sure, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes you feel a pressure being even if I got stuff going on this weekend, I want to fulfill that because I know people are expecting it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, more than that, and it's outweighed like crazy, is just that not only do I get to have fun playing a solo game, I'm doing it for a purpose that is also bringing joy to other people, and that brings me so much comfort that it was hard for me not to put it number 1, because I feel like that is something so unique to Marvel Champions, so unique to me specifically for having chosen to do this content, that I don't know if I'll have another game ever in my collection that we tackle. I shouldn't say never.
No, but the amount of hours of Marvel Champions, for anyone who gets into the game and stumbles upon your coverage, I have no part in this because I haven't covered Marvel Champions. I don't really know a whole lot about the game, but anyone who stumbles upon our channel is very lucky to have that much in-depth coverage about so many different heroes and packs and it's funny because I'm going to do some bragging on your behalf then if you're not going to do it for yourself, okay? There are people who comment on other videos where Marvel Champions isn't in the video saying something like, can't wait for your thoughts on the upcoming pack, or people who will message us on Discord talking about Marvel Champions. I'm not in the Marvel Champions subreddit or any of these things, but every once in a while I pop over there just to see how many people are talking about Dylann in here. And it's one troll or one person will make a somewhat rude comment about oh, you kind of overlook, why do you think this card's bad? And it gets downvoted, and right away there's 20 people coming to your defense being hey man, lay off, this guy's got the best Marvel Champions content around. There's it's so heartwarming for me and comforting for me, even though the game itself isn't, what it represents for you and for the channel. It just makes me so happy too that I'm you're basically a Marvel Champions celebrity. There's people who find out about these packs through your videos before they hear it from FFG, and that's just so awesome. Yeah, and so that pretty much says it all. And what I said, what I'll end it on is literally to sum it all up. The too long didn't read of this whole thing is the reason this is number 1 is less about the fact that it's comforting to me, and it's more about how much comfort it brings me to know how comforting the content is for everyone else. That in and of itself makes it so comforting to me that I couldn't have put this anywhere other than number 1. It might change over the years, who knows what the future holds, but right now, too much comfort associated with Marvel Champions for too many positive reasons. Damn. Mm-hmm. Straight for the heart. I don't even know what to say there. I'm a little shaken up here.
Close us off.
Yeah. Those are our comfort games. Honestly, as I think we both had a lot more to say about these games than I think we realized. I'm glad we kept it to 5 each instead of 10. This video would have probably
been here all night.
Way too long. But like we said, there's obviously very like personal and sentimental reasons why these games are so comforting, and I think I'm really glad that we decided to do this for Mental Health Month. And I'm like, I know we say this about a lot of videos, but we're curious to hear what your picks are, but like, sincerely, this is the one I'm probably the most curious to hear, because there's going to be such a wide range, and nobody can tell you, no, your game wasn't comforting or that's not a comforting game. Like, please do share with us, whether it's in the YouTube comments or come join our Discord server. There's so many awesome people there, I'm sure, who would love to discuss this as well. And just on the note of the mental health live stream that we're doing, just a reminder, by the time you see this video, it'll probably be this upcoming weekend. So it's Saturday, May 28th at noon Central. We're going to be streaming for 24 hours straight until Sunday, May 29th. You can find it. It'll just be right on our YouTube channel. You can donate, and every $5 you donate in Canadian dollars, you'll get one entry into every single prize. We're already over 40 separate prizes. You have 40 chances to win. Anyways, we have an announcement video on our channel if you want all the details. I'll leave it at that.
And we'll be playing some of the games we talked about here on the stream too.
Yeah, definitely. So, anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's it. I'm just really curious to hear everyone else's comfort games. So like Carlo said, put them in the comments and let us know why they're comforting to you, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, and tell us which ones you're most surprised that made our list too. Very curious. But sure. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. And if you stuck through the whole thing, I know it was a long one, but thank you. And see you next time.